Borough Council. Borough.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like for everybody to take a moment of silence. This past Saturday marked the 12-year anniversary of the tragedy in San Diego, where 20 children, innocent children, killed as a result of, my opinion, lack of gun control in this country. So I'm hoping that we can keep in our thoughts and prayers this moment of silence all of those who become victims of gun violence in this country during and before that time period, and hope that our legislators can see a way to bring together and adopt common sense laws. Thank you very much. This meeting is being held in compliance with New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act and advertised in retrospect of the bulletin board downstairs and all official borough social media channels. I ask for those of you who are here with us in public, please place your phones on silent. And if you need to speak with somebody while we're conducting business, please do so outside of council chambers. Roll call.
Mr. Fitzgerald.
Present.
Mr. McLuhan.
Here.
Ms. Morales. Here. Mr. Perno. Mr. Sperazza.
Here.
Mr. Woods.
Here.
Mr. Barnwell.
Thank you very much. First on the agenda this evening is the public portion of the meeting. Anyone from the public who wishes to come forward and speak on any topic, including any topic that's on the agenda, there are no other public sessions this evening. We will not be opening it up to the public at any other time. So if you're here to speak on any items on the agenda or any other items for that matter, please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Your Honor.
Good evening.
My name is Edmund Hourstone. I'm a third generation resident here in Merchantville. My grandfather, his father, now me, I'm here. So we've been here for over 85 years. Active in the community. My grandfather and his brother have made some pretty significant contributions to the Roman Catholic Church here at St. Peter's to help with their bell tower project. And I can say, being a third generation person here in Merchantville, I'm very proud of living here. It's a beautiful community, and I want to thank Your Honor and council members for creating such a warm and inviting environment for everybody. I love all the local activities. Just a charming place to live, and it's always been a very you'll feel peaceful and safe here. And your uniformed service officers are fantastic, just wonderful community. So I praise you all on that. Thank you for the hard work you put in. I've been president of HOAs in the past here in Florida, so I understand the time and the hard work that's put in to helping to make a large community a better place to live, and also the headaches and the things that are also involved, the late hours, and, all these positions weren't paid. It felt like having a full-time job, second job. But I'm glad I did it because it contributed to the welfare of the community. I'm here today by way of background. I have over 30 years of experience as a practicing attorney. I'm general counsel for a nonprofit in Philadelphia, and prior to that, I was litigation counsel for many large-size firms. And I even did a foray into pharmaceutical work for a while with the work for a little while as well. So my background is primarily litigation, but also risk management. Containing risk, foreseeing risk, and doing what's necessary, to prevent incidents happening for corporations. I'm here today because I want to advise the council of a situation which I think presents, certainly a public nuisance, but more importantly, it's I think what could be considered under the doctrine of attractive nuisance here in Merchantville. On Moore Street, where I reside, 130 Moore Street. It's situated between, as you know, Maple Avenue and Bowman Street. There's a lot of traffic that travels through that street, sometimes at a high rate of speed, unfortunately. There's two apartment complexes at either end, as you may know. You have big apartments at one end and another apartment complex at the other. So it is a high, traffic area, which has never really been an issue. I mean, it's unfortunate that people speed through. It's certainly not a safe condition. But that condition has been made worse by the installation of a basketball hoop that is now situated. I don't know if you call it the easement area or the quote unquote dead zone, but it's on the curb and also on the grassy patch that's between the end of the sidewalk and the curb. It literally abuts right on the street. And as you may know, on Moore Street, one side is for parking, dedicated parking, and it makes the thoroughfare even more narrow. So cars going in both directions have to pass extremely close to each other. And it's constant traffic, day and night. But at night, especially after 5 p.m. work hours, people rushing home, it gets much worse. But what has happened is the local resident, her name is Bonnie Smelter. She lives at 133 Moore Street. She has erected a makeshift basketball hoop, as I said, in front of the home. And it's supported by 2 large cinder blocks during our recent storm, and the thing was like wavering in the wind. It looked like it was almost going to come down, hit a car. That's a separate issue. The primary issue is that we have very young children in the neighborhood. They come from both the apartment complexes. Some look as young as 5 years old. Some look as old as 12 years old. And they gather in fairly large groups at times. And they've been using this makeshift basketball hoop as a playground, essentially. But at all hours, during the day, at night, sometimes up until as late as 9 p.m. And as you know, it gets very dark very early. So when this traffic is coming by these children at night, a lot of times these kids will scream out. There's constant pounding. That's the public nuisance section, and the loud noise, especially late night after work. But when the cars come by, the kids will scream like "car" and then run out of the way. And these cars will zoom by. I have video, which shows these cars passing right in front of these children. It's presented as significant, attractive nuisance because these children are too young to appreciate, the danger that they're in by being out of the street at dark, unsupervised by any parents, any adults. You don't see the parents out there supervising these kids. They're just out there at night playing in the dark. In fact, Officer, let me get his last name right too. Officer Selman came out to investigate the situation one evening. And he even stated to me, he said, yes, he goes, even my patrol car came off Maple Avenue and I came right up on these kids before I saw them. I didn't even see them until the last minute. And that's the sort of danger it poses. There's a street light on Morris that they sort of group under. But again, you don't see these children until the very last minute. Now, unfortunately, there appears to be nothing in the Merchantville ordinances which address basketball hoops, about their placement, non-placement, hours of operation, whether they should be pulled away after play or whether if they're grouped in somebody's driveway, should they direct it there. Ms. Smeltzer has a very large and long driveway. There's plenty of room there if she wants to put the basketball hoop there and invite people onto her property to play there. I mean, that's her business, it's her property. I know my other neighbors have done that. My neighbor across the street has a basketball hoop in his driveway, another one down the other end of the street. And that's their private property. They have the right to erect the basketball hoop there. But what this has created is literally a playground in the middle of a very busy street with two-way traffic. And not to mention the fact that the ball has several times hit cars there, they cause property damage. It's just not a great situation. And my concern, yes, there is a nuisance aspect. I'll be honest about that. It's not fun. You get home from work and hear the pounding of the basketball on the pavement echoing through your home up until 9 o'clock at night, kids screaming and yelling late at night. But more importantly, I honestly believe that one of these children would be injured. These cars are not seeing these kids. It's dark at night. And unfortunately, if one of these kids are injured, you might want to check with the council, legal counsel. I think the liability would not only rest with the owner because it is an attractive nuisance, and of course the driver, but it also presents risks to the council, to the city, the borough, the borough itself. Because I can guarantee you, any attorney worth his salt, if a child is injured or seriously injured, I guarantee you they'll bring lawsuit, against every party they can possibly ensue. And one of those might be the, Borough, because like I said, this is on the curb and it's like, using a Borough thoroughfare street for a play area. So, unfortunately, which is shocking, my neighbor is a principal at I think a middle school somewhere in Audubon. And when I presented this issue to her and risk concern, she said, well, I talked to a merchantable officer. He said, because there's nothing on the ordinances, I'm not liable, so I'm not worrying about it. She goes, it's the parent's fault and the driver's fault for doing this. I said, well, you have created something that's attracting children. They don't understand the risks that's involved in playing late at night like that. They just want to play ball. They want to be kids. They can't, at 5 or 6, 7, 8 years old, they can't assess the risk, of course, speaking down the road and possibly hurting them. So I wanted to make the council aware of it, so hopefully, some action can be taken to prevent this. Again, not only is it prevents the quiet enjoyment of your home, but it also is presenting a serious risk where I don't want to see one of these kids hurt in front of the property like that. A kid out in the street one night, because an adult who was supposed to be responsible wasn't there supervising or didn't have enough common sense to move this court into their ample driveway where the children could play safely. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison. What we can do is work with our chief of police and look at some maybe ordinances that are available in other communities. It's clearly not the only street in town that has a basketball hoop that is utilizing the roadway as a playground area. So we'll see. I'm not sure council's ready to make any decisions this evening, but we'll certainly take it under advisement and work with our professionals to see what we can do.
I appreciate it, Your Honor. And I know that other, like Haddonfield, and I know other, boroughs have adopted the thing that, when it's not in use, it should be stored on the property or safe, put somewhere safely on the property. Because this just invites children to that area at all hours, and especially at night. The night times are really concerning because you literally cannot see these kids until you're right on top of them. And that's unfortunate. We talked about Sandy Hook earlier, right? Protecting the safety of children. That's the primary concern here. The secondary is, of course, like the other issues that we talked about, I mentioned. But thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public who wants to come forward and speak on any topic? Come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, but I'll move that and say, hey everyone, Will Brown here, 213 Maple Terrace. I'd like to express my support for the proposed marijuana consumption lounge in our town. A few different angles to come at this from. Marijuana legalization is supported by people across the political lines, with both liberals and conservative recognizing its values. Today, marijuana is legalized in 24 states, including our own, and the District of Columbia. There's growing acceptance across the country. And establishing a lounge here would position Mercantville as a leader in embracing progress across political spectrums in the state of New Jersey. When it comes to safety concerns, which I think a lot of people on Facebook and across our town have been bringing up, studies show that marijuana is far less likely to lead to violence or aggression than alcohol. In fact, alcohol is far less, far more involved, I should say, in impaired driving incidents and fatalities. It's more involved in violent crime incidents and domestic violence across our nation. Actually, the CDC has stats that alcohol is more likely to lead to violent incidents than marijuana at a rate of nearly double. There's we have the Blue Monkey. I'm a supporter of the Blue Monkey. We have the brewery in town. I'm a supporter of the brewery. We have the cigar lounge in town. I've never attended there, but I'm in support of people using their rights. I think the same policy should be applied to the marijuana consumption lounge in town. Beyond safety, it's worth noting the substantial tax revenue that I believe this lounge is generating for our town. Through the grapevine, I've heard unofficial statistics reference that it's generating substantial revenue, which is going to lead to substantial tax revenue for this town. I'm sure you all have heard that people in the town are not happy that our taxes keep raising year over year. So I'm sure that this lounge is one means to provide the borough with additional tax revenue beyond, coming back to the pockets of our residences. In closing, it's not just about the lounge, it's not about moving progress forward with the times. I understand that there are people who have lived here for generations, but the next generation of residents is starting to move into Mercantville. I own a home, my sister owns a home, my family is planning on buying additional homes here in the borough. I really want to support you all as council members and you as mayor and, everything that you all do here for the town. I am such a big fan of whether it's Halloween, Christmas, like I talk to people, I work remotely from California, I talk to people in Los Angeles, how I almost live in like a Hallmark-esque town. When you see these movies on Netflix, it's like literally reminds me of the town that we live in. And I can guarantee you that the dispensary is not going to sully anything about this town, it's just going to add to the drawl of the town. There's nothing that the dispensary or consumption lounge would unfortunately lead to that the brewery, the bar, or any of the other vices that we like to provide areas to in town would lead to. So what I'm getting at is that I hope you all support it. I just wanted to mention my support of it, and yeah, that's about it. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wish to come forward, speak on any topic? State your name and address, please, for the record.
Hello, Dr. Sharon Hunter Nicholas, 27 Franklin Avenue, and 28 South Center is my business. I just wanted to show my support for these folks. They've been fantastic partners in our town. They're willing to spend their money and help build the town a little bit more. And I'm in support of their lounge because it's not going to be any worse than going to a bar or the brewery. Sorry. I like the brewery too.
I would love.
But it's not gonna be any worse for wear, especially given, I saw your survey that you did. And if people are willing to not drive, just like a lot of people are not willing to drive drunk, I don't think it's gonna be any worse for the town. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Victoria Brown. You heard from my brother a few minutes ago. I live at 52 West Chestnut Avenue, so as you can see, being in Merchantville is kind of running in the family, and my brother and I grew up in Haddonfield, so we are pretty local to the area. I also just wanted to voice my support for Ginseng's Consumption Lounge. I think it's a really amazing thing that Merchantville has opened up having a dispensary in the town, and I've seen the way that Ginseng has really supported the community, doing a lot of charity events. I mean, they had a cat adoption event like yesterday or today. Saturday. They just had like a cat adoption event. I actually adopted a cat from there, rather my partner did. And I just think that opening up a lounge and providing additional activities for the adults in Merchantville to socialize with each other, to get to know each other, and other neighbors from nearby towns would be a really great thing for us to have. So I just also wanted to voice my support for Ginseng and their consumption lounge as a community member. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Before we close?
Brendan, 40 Baldwin Street. I have one question, 2 comments. The question is, when will the yard waste collection be as is scheduled for Christmas?
Yeah, well, actually, I'll be consulting with the chief about that tomorrow. We'll have something on Facebook. I'm pretty sure.
We're being told it's the next day, so Thursday, the 26th.
Maybe we can work the day after Christmas?
Yeah.
Okay. And the comment I was gonna make is, if it'd be possible, if you think when you start doing the agenda for next year for the meeting, if you could possibly put additional public comment at the very end. I've been here a couple times, a couple people have come late and they haven't got to speak whatever they had to say. You know, they're running late from work or whatever else, but I don't think by putting that public comment at the end, the second one, it's gonna take up too much time, nor I think many people will be saying that. So I think it's just a convenient thing for your consideration. The last one, I want to thank you all for your work for this year on behalf of the borough, and I wish you all happy holidays.
Thank you.
I got the curse stuff up here. My name is Todd Katzberg and I live at 41 West Chestnut Avenue. And I've lived here now for over 20 years. And in the same house on West Chestnut. And, I was wondering if there's any plan for reopening the other side of West Chestnut. Because as much as I love the events that happened there, like right next to the monkey and everything that was going on, when that street got closed off, it dramatically increased the amount of traffic on the other side of West Chestnut. I mean, we now see so many cars. It's crazy how much more traffic, just from having that one section blocked off, has increased the traffic on the other side. And I've had conversations with my neighbors and with the owners of the Blue Monkey, and they don't want anything to do with that, or at least that's what they're telling me. They don't want anything to do with that side of the street being closed off. But yet it's still, months later, after everything's been removed, it's still closed off. So is there any plan on reopening that side of the street?
The plan at this time is not to reopen it, that we are working with design professionals to put a placemaking area there or some sort of, something that we can use for other events in town. But the public safety benefits that we've found over the 3-4 years that it's been closed now, for that intersection alone, and speaking with our police chief, and speaking with a lot of the public, really outweigh, I think, reopening it at this time. And so we're trying to find something that works. We haven't been able to identify that design yet, but we're working with our professionals to do that.
But I know that that intersection is very confusing with the two sides there. But it's, you know, as I've lived here for so many years, and it was a real change for our side of the street when that got blocked off. I mean, it's just, I mean, luckily there's not a lot of children. I mean, my children are now grown, so they're not crossing over to the bike path as much. But it's definitely been a concern. I've seen, especially with the kids coming to school, they cross over on West Chestnut heading towards the school, and the increase in traffic there has been pretty dangerous for the children going to school, crossing that road. So I just wanted to bring it to attention and see if there was an idea or a plan of when that might be open or changed in some way to reduce the following the traffic over on one side of the road.
It doesn't, I don't think at this time we're planning to do that.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, thank you. All right. Seeing nobody else, we'll close the public portion of the meeting. Next for the approval of the minutes. First, we have November 4th, 2024, and everybody except for Ms. Morales to vote those by the motion.
So, second.
First is Mr. Woodson, Mrs. Strauser, all in favor? Opposed? And abstention. The second is the caucus meeting for November 25th. Everybody that's here can vote on those, so I have a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Fitzgerald first, Mr. Wood second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions. Thank you very much. Mr. Lees, engineers report.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. The only highlight I have for the engineers report is the completion of Somerset. We're still addressing punch list, but the project is now substantially complete.
Okay, and contract time?
Contract time was exceeded. No final quantities have been submitted, so we are planning to make some adjustments depending on what they submit for. So we'll have discussion that when they submit.
So I guess we'll approach with that at that time.
I'll make recommendations when they submit the application for payment.
Good. Questions?
Did we pull their bonds? Yes. I contacted the bond company, but we didn't get their phone.
So what they started with, it's like
Any other questions?
When you say contract times, that mean paying, you haven't paid them for the longer expected or?
There definitely were additional costs associated with our engineer being out there for the additional period of time, so they would be subject to liquidated damages under the contract. So we're waiting for, I think, the final pay application to see where things land, so we can have those discussions at that time.
And that was fully funded by DOT state aid, right?
Correct. questions? Thank you very much, Mr. Reese.
Thank you.
Wonderful holiday. Any correspondence? No? Okay. Let's get through, council reports real quick. Mr. Woods.
Thank you, Your Honor. Not much to report. Shade Tree met last Thursday to review all resident concerns regarding our shade trees throughout the borough. We also are starting to take a look at, of those many requests, the trees that we're going to contracting for removal in the coming months, as winter is a more appropriate time for some of those removals, and the leaves on the trees. Our joint land use board met last week, for a few of the approvals throughout the year that tie up loose ends and get ready for the new year. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Questions for Mr. Woods? Ms. Morales?
No news.
No news.
From the diversity committee, I know we said that we have a meeting scheduled for January's reorganization, but that would be done because of the date.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Mr. Fitzgerald.
I'll try to be quick and take out quite a few things. DPW report, Chris Belmont, who had suffered an injury last year, will be returning to work January 2nd, 2025. Two of our public works members have taken their CDL test, so that will be good in terms of maintaining use of trucks when if different individuals have to take days off or go out for training. Our small dump truck is out of service at the moment. We're waiting for a part for the transmission. Waiting for, we have 9 trees slated to be removed by the end of the year. Yard waste obviously has become increasingly heavy as more of the leaves have come down, so we're up to 2 trash trucks a run, and we had 2 sewer calls for the month of November and December. Board of Ed met on December 2nd. We saw a minor increase in choice students coming in, and happy to report, I always like to kind of point this one out. There are currently no commercial students who are choicing out of our district into any other public school districts at the moment. So I think that's a good sign when we have, more kids trying to get in, and then we have the spots to provide for them, and literally no one from the schools saying that there's a better public school system they're opting to go into. On the webs and communication. Ideas towards that, so I know it's going to be a continuing project going forward. Board of Health was going to meet on the 14th. We switched it to email just because of holidays upcoming and everything else that we're going to be continuing to pursue. The wellness campaign also, it was noted that I'll leave that out. And from the public events front, we had the parade, the tree lighting, the breakfast with Santa, holiday home tour, sit and shop from the Business Association. Everything else going on as far as I know, everything was a success and went quite well. Yelp is always a big hit. Heard a lot about that. And that's all I have for this evening.
Questions from Mr. Fitzgerald? Thank you very much, Sean. Yeah, I heard the public events were very well attended and well received. So thank you to all involved volunteers. Mr. Sprouse.
Virtual fire, this is for the report for this year. This is through end of November. We've had a total of 202 calls. Here are 23 calls total for last month, 18 Borough. That's not good. Equipment's all in good shape. Code for fire prevention, we had 200 total annual inspections, 200 primary inspections, 191 re-inspections. Looking for the number of all primary inspections have been completed this year for fire prevention across the borough. Code enforcement, 148 complaints in the year, 125 closed, 84 resale inspections in the year. That's what the numbers looking for, so it's kind of impressive given the housing market. Total units inspected this year, 227 units, 58 properties, and we are completely all up to speed on the rental inspections. I should note that 11 West Walnut went to court this week or last month. They were found guilty. That's been an ongoing problem, and I'm sure Mr. Carter will know. It was ruled that it was not TV vacant. I'm not sure it's all upside or not,
Well, thank you. Questions for Mr. Sprouse? No, Mr. McCool?
Thank you, Your Honor. Merchantville Police for the month of November responded to 1,252 incidents, of which 122 were officer-initiated positive engagements with members of the community. Additionally, there were 9 arrests and two DWI arrests. November was a busy month on the training front. Lieutenant Callaway, Chief Gracia attended the Attorney General webinar on annual year-end reporting. Detective Marone attended a 2-day child abuse investigation course. Detective Marone and Officer Beach also were recertified as child car seat technicians. All officers attended a 1-day handgun and rifle recertification in Lindenwold. All officers showed proficiency with their firearms. You may have seen an increased presence at the intersection of Chestnut Avenue and Center Street. We've had a police vehicle out there quite often due to some complaints of vehicles not stopping at that particular intersection. The chief advises that we will issue a report of findings for the month of January to my attention, which I will share with council. And then last but not least, just a kind reminder from the Merchantville Police Department that they are looking to hire. They are accepting applications at this time, so I know they've gone through the social media again. So if anyone that's interested, we would like to join Merchantville's finest. Applications are available. Yes, well. That's all I have for this evening.
Thank you. I will only add, to the extent that anybody's here seeking an update on drones. I wasn't able to attend the mayor's meeting in Ewing. However, I did speak with my friend, Mayor Collingswood, who also had a brief bit on CBS News, where they basically told us absolutely nothing. The chief then doubled down that the following day, and it was in a chief's meeting with the state police, where they also told them nothing because they didn't know anything. So we still.
Let's keep that confidential.
Yeah, that was confidentially. So I think maybe Twitter or whatever your social media platform of choice is, go ahead, look there, you might find more information. Release some interesting conspiracy theories for sure. But I.
Flight path over Cooper River.
Yeah, I got nothing. Any questions for Mr. McClung? Nothing about the drugs. Okay, thank you very much. That's it for council reports. Clerk's report, Mrs. Brown.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just want to remind everyone that the reorg meeting will be January 6th here at 7:30. And we will be doing a picture if everybody's available. You need to confirm that you are, and I'll set that photo up. Again, we will be having a memorial for Chris Mecca. If anyone from the audience is interested, that will be Friday at 11 o'clock. And there was a tree planted, a plaque placed, and it will be in memory of Chris Mecca, who was our former construction official who passed away recently. If you need any more information or you'd like to attend, you can let me know, or you can just come to the bike path across from the senior housing on Friday, 11 o'clock. Also, we will be closed on December 24th and 25th for the Christmas holiday, and that's all that I have.
Okay. Any questions for Mrs. Brown? We don't have a community development CFO report, so we'll move into old business. First item on old business this evening is a proclamation for Councilwoman Cindy Morales. Cindy, this is your last official meeting. Reorg, so we wanted to do something nice for you. And we'll read this proclamation when it comes up. Cindy, you 1 term, 3 years, or was it 6?
1 term, 3 years.
So you weren't a glutton for punishment. Some of our but we want to thank you for everything a stranger. I know you're involved in a lot of stuff around here, so we want to present this proclamation to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
Anyway, all right, next item on the board is the discussion regarding the J6 consumption lounge request. As council is aware, Jinxon has submitted a request for approval by the borough for a consumption lounge on premises. They've submitted a package of information, and I believe Tom or somebody from Jinxon has met with almost all of the members of council to discuss the concerns. So Tom, I'll turn it over to you. Just name and address for the record or whoever else. I don't know if anyone else is speaking.
I'm not sure either.
Yeah.
My name is Tom Brzezinski. The local address is 14 South Center Street. That's where Jinxon is located. I also have an apartment in Cherry Hill, but we live in Washington Township up in Warren County, about an hour and a half over to here.
Seeing drones up there. A lot of drones.
We don't have access either, though.
Not me. I was started down here. We have the additional copies of the presentation that I produced. If anybody in the audience would like one, or somebody doesn't have one. Should be there.
Yep. You need something else? All right. Thanks.
Just so that everybody on the same sheet of music here, actually what a consumption lounge is. So a consumption lounge is where cannabis customers or patients, which is kind of important, can consume cannabis in a safe and regulated environment, right? So obviously it's legal, people can buy it, they can kind of consume it wherever they want. Sometimes those spots that they choose are less desirable due to their circumstances. If somebody lives in an apartment, typically you're not allowed to smoke in apartments any longer, if you're in a rental home. So people often have limited options, so they go and hang out at the gazebo or whatever. So we're trying to get a place where people can consume their cannabis indoors, nice environment. The people that came for the cat adoption this weekend described it as a living room, which is kind of what we're shooting for. It's just a nice, comfortable place where people can do what they want to do. Under observation, under supervision, and do it safely. Okay, so we're regulated by the New Jersey Cannabis Regulatory Commission, CRC, I refer to. They have finally approved their regulations that they initially approved in January. They addressed those regulations again in this past meeting to allow dispensaries to apply for an endorsement to their license to have a consumption lounge. So there's, as usual with the CRC, a bunch of hoops that we have to jump through and to submit SOPs and floor plans and significantly the approval of the municipality. That's why we're here tonight is to discuss that approval. So the endorsement is renewed annually at the state level. Significantly, it's also renewed annually at the municipality level. So, regardless of the decision that we make, hopefully will be approved at some point in the future. If after a year, we have difficulties that we can't resolve or whatever, that approval can be withdrawn by the borough, separate from our licensing as a dispensary. So it's two separate issues. And then they're not necessarily linked together. Okay. The state will be accepting finally applications January 2nd for social equity licensees, which we are not. Those are basically dispensaries that are located in economic impact zones in the state or are run by people that used to be criminals that are now upstanding citizens and members of the industry. April 2nd is the date that we, as a diversely owned business, are allowed to apply. Canton is an economic impact zone, obviously, so they'll likely beat us to the punch of having the first consumption lounge. And then non-diversity owned, so more like corporate, MSO, multi-state operator dispensaries can apply on July 2nd. A consumption lounge is allowed, specifically allowed in Merchantville's ordinance. So that's already provided for. We don't require any variance or anything. They specifically call that. Among the other kind of restrictions or points of interest, anybody that goes into the lounge has to be 21 or over. Kind of in contrast to the dispensary itself, where a child is allowed to enter the dispensary with their parent or guardian. I believe the CRC in their wisdom decided it was better for the child to come into the dispensary versus sitting in the car or being hitched up to the parking meter in front of the store or something like that. Okay, so we have to comply with the same laws that a cigar lounge, and we located right across the street from us, would have to abide by, particularly with air filtration and air quality. Also, we have to comply with the Smoke-Free Air Act, they specifically call for that. Basically, the only thing that you glean from that is that we have to put a sign up that says smoking is allowed in here. So it's not really too onerous. Interestingly, food sales, we are not allowed to sell food at all. But we are allowed to permit customers to bring their own food or have food delivered to the dispensary. Another one of these little interesting COC decisions. So we've been in contact with the restaurants in the area, and they're believable that they'll be able to deliver food to our customers. It's pretty well known that smoking marijuana causes people to get snappy, so we think that Ponto's doing a brisk business with our customers. Okay. And we can provide menus and facilitate the transaction, but we're not allowed to sell ourselves. Absolutely no alcohol or tobacco allowed in the consumption lounge. They can't bring it in themselves, we can't provide it, just doesn't exist inside there. You might have seen, like, for instance, when we had the Christmas walk or the Halloween walk, that sometimes people will walk around with containers at that point. We had to put a table outside for them to leave a container there, and we weren't allowed to permit them to bring into our facility. When somebody comes in and buys some cannabis to consume, if they don't consume it all, we have to provide them with a resealable container to take it away in, so that's evident that the container was sealed. And if they're driving, you're not allowed to drive with an open container of cannabis, just like you're not allowed to drive with an open container of alcohol. So we have to provide them insurance to reseal that. Just like with a bar, we're not allowed to serve or allow a patron to continue to consume cannabis once they seem to be intoxicated or impaired by the consumption. That's similar what bartenders have to do. They're not allowed to serve, obviously, drunk patrons. As a kind of positioning statement, we're not looking to create a free-for-all, kind of, there's a movie in the 50s, I guess, called Reefer Madness. We're not looking to do anything like that. Similar to the way we run our dispensary itself. We haven't had any complaints at all as far as the quality or quantity of our patrons. Everybody's that comes in is well behaved and basically everyday people. We anticipate that will be the similar demographic that would participate in our consumption lounge. What we intend to do is basically community building type of things, so bingo nights, card nights, we're setting up some gaming systems. We have a foosball table, so basically kind of like a living room, man cave, type of thing that somebody might have in their house, except accommodating, maybe 40 people or so, probably at the most. So that's kind of the guiding light that we have, is that we want to provide a safe area, place that we can do education, place that our vendors can come in and do sampling, similar to Eclipse, have flights of different strains of cannabis that people can try a little bit, see what they like, that type of thing, or when a girl has a new product coming out, they would like to be able to, let the potential customers sample the product. That's one of the things that we'd like to do. There was recently, this isn't in there, it just came out, a national law review article. I'll just briefly summarize this. Says that the New Jersey's cannabis industry, the delay that we've experienced so far is a missed chance to reduce stigma, expand access, and build up local economies and businesses. While 1/3 of municipalities allow cannabis sales here in New Jersey, fewer than a dozen have embraced consumption lounges. A lot of this delay comes down to misconceptions. Some officials imagine these spaces as rowdy bars, overlooking the reality that lounges are tightly regulated with bans on alcohol, tobacco, and food. So we have 3 cameras. We have a room that's this kind of the size of this, and we have 3 cameras in the corners, and the CRC is constantly able to look on those cameras themselves and make sure they're doing something. So we're not doing anything where we're not very tightly regulated, which is subject to scrutiny at any moment. For cannabis user, this delays leaves few options. Those who live in rental, federally subsidized housing, where cannabis use is banned, are especially impacted. Lounges can provide them with a safe, legal place to consume. Beyond that, these spaces could help normalize cannabis use, creating opportunities for education, community connection, in a controlled setting, exactly what we want to do. As far as our competition, we have numerous competitors. There's a dozen that listed here that are located less than 10 miles from our location. Significantly, Camden currently has one dispensary, but they're allowing 20 in Camden. So we have a dozen right now that are in our area. Could be 19 more just in Camden. Most of these locations do not allow consumption lounges. Some of them did not address the question of consumption lounges in their ordinances. Belmar, just so happens to be where Purely, one of our bigger competitors located, does allow 3 consumption lounges within the municipality of Belmar. So right now we have a dozen. CRC basically will give a license to anybody that asks nicely. The real governor of how many dispensaries will eventually be in the state or municipalities. It's very, very difficult now to find a city or a municipality that's not filled, that hasn't had all their licenses spoken for. And then even when there is a license available, if there is one license available, still a merchant bill to find zoning compliant property, which is kind of the next hurdle. Nonetheless, we anticipate that the amount of competition is going to grow. My personal feeling is that dispensaries are going to come up with their stores before too long, but there'll be plenty of them, plenty of opportunities to go where we want. We did do a poll of our customers. Prove that we actually did this. Here's the little pages that we had everybody fill out. So that was fun. We enjoyed that. We had about 300 customers that filled out the responses. Summarize the results there. 10 of them live out of the area. Only 2 of them out of 300 were not in favor of a consumption lounge for whatever reason. So 96% of them, 271 at the original cohort, said they would order food from local businesses. 231 or 213 of them, or 75%, said that they would come to the dispensary using a ride share like Uber or Lyft. 7 said that they would walk there because they were very local. 61 that said that they would not use a ride share. 46 of those 61 said they would not drive. So I'm kind of knows as they would have somebody driving over. Of the 300, only 15 said that they would drive there. Okay, so we intend to look at those as three different segments of customers and treat them slightly differently depending on how they're planning on moving. Okay, so for the ride share guests, those are kind of our best customers. So they're basically permitted to do whatever they want because they're not going to pose a risk to anybody when they leave. They'll hop in their Uber and Uber away. Or it might be the case of a group, like a bachelor party or something that's going to come in a bus, some sort of mass transportation type of thing, or birthday party. So these individuals, they'll have to give us their rideshare information. So if they are unable to summon the rideshare themselves, we'll be able to summon it for them and send them on the way when their closing time comes. If they're in a ride, if they're not taking a ride share and they're also not driving, and somebody else is driving them, we're going to treat those folks similarly, but we're going to ask for the contact information of the friend that's going to drive them. That's their designated driver, so to speak. Hopefully that designated driver isn't next door, the monkey, the drunks. So hopefully that works out. We're going to do our best. The interesting cohort are the guests that are driving. So for those folks, we scoured the planet for a solution, put our heads together. So we came across a company called Impairment Sciences out of Massachusetts. They have an application, an app called Druid, which is driving under the influence of drugs. And basically, it's a test of not so much if you're under the influence of drugs, but if you're impaired in any way and not really suitable for driving, or in other cases, they also use it in mines and construction workers, if you're not fit for operating heavy machinery, for example, things along those lines. So it's basically a three-part test. I have it on my phone if anybody wants to see it, but it's so the first test is you look at your phone and they're going to show you either little tiny yellow circles or squares. And first you see the instructions, it says if it's a circle, push where the circle is. If it's a square, you push this little oval at the top. Okay, so now you have to remember, okay, which one, so now you press, you go ding, 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 like all of this, okay? And then it stops, it's like, okay, and it does it again, and usually it changes it. So where it used to be circles, now you have to press the square, okay, we'll try it out now. Okay, so it's relatively challenging. It's pretty quick, but it's relatively challenging. It does like flash like instantly, so you have to really be paying attention and push where it is and remember if you're supposed to push here or push there. Okay, so that's the first one. The second one, there's a button that says stop, and you start it, and you mentally count for 15 seconds. When you hit 15 seconds, you push the stop button. Problem is, while you're waiting for those 15 seconds, you also have to push these circles that are popping up all over the place. So it's tested, it's called like a distracted attention type of thing. So you have to pop all these circles. And then as I put on my timer, that's probably 15 seconds. So you hit the stop button at that point. Okay. The third one is you have to hold this thing and you have to stand on one foot, and it determines how lovely you are. Okay. So the idea is that we're gonna, for people that are planning on driving away, they have to pass these hurdles. So first, when they first get there, before they consume, we're gonna establish a baseline. Right? So some people are better at standing on one foot than I am, or some are better, some are worse, some are more visually intuitive than others. So we're gonna establish what your personal baseline is before you even do anything. Okay? Then you go in, you're gonna consume, you're gonna say, okay, well, I'm gonna get home. Okay, so now you say, okay, I'm ready to go. And we're gonna say, okay, you gotta do your Druid again, and they do the whole thing. And Druid gives you a score, and it's gonna say, if you're 5 points worse than you were when you first took it, you're not ready to go home yet, So you have a choice, we can call an Uber for you, we can hang out. If you don't like those choices, if you really insist, then we're gonna say, okay, well, don't plan on ever coming back again because we're going to ban you for life, and we're going to call the cops on you. So And we're hoping that that's sufficiently persuasive that they'll go back and play foosball with more, come to their senses. Okay, so the next couple of pages go on about the Druid test. There were studies that were published in legitimate scientific journals. There's a study done by Johns Hopkins, which examined the effectiveness of the Druid test to determine the impairment specifically by THC. And the results were that, yeah, it really does see if you're impaired. We also had our staff who, from time to time, here, consume some THC, and especially when they don't have a whole bag full of free and they've, checked the results themselves, and they agree that it is effective in determining their own impairment. Colorado University, a hotbed of cannabis research, did a test checking, testing cannabis intoxication and how the Druid application measures that, and came to similar results. One little thing that I found interesting is peak Druid impairment effects were seen immediately after cannabis, so the peak impairment was seen immediately, with recovery of performance at 1 hour post-use. So like this, you consume, stop consuming an hour later or so, you should be good to go. Varies a lot by person to person. Sam here is probably, ready to go within 15 minutes or so. Down is a couple of days later, she's still reeling from the effects. That's that. And then these guys here, the Municipal Police Institute, looked at Druid as a field sobriety type of thing, and they came up with, again, similar results that Druid does measure impairment as a driver or as an operator of machinery, things like that. You shouldn't necessarily be doing when you're not at your cognitive peak, so to speak. So that's the contents of my presentation. I'm trying to get faster than I was expecting.
So here's what we'll do, Tom, we'll go around for council and ask them questions they might have. I know that some of you, as I said earlier, did meet with the group and talk about some of the questions. I guess we'll put you on the spot. Dan, you're the closest there, and right, if you don't mind, if you have any questions.
You just talk about some of the hours when you're looking to have this open, have the hours. So I know that there's been sensitivity in the community about this going on when children are coming home from school and that type of thing, and possibly seeing a window and nothing more versus people stumbling out of the monkey. We're sensitive to that, and we'd be more than willing to not make the consumption lounge available for consumption during those times when kids might be passing by.
I appreciate your presentation. It was very comprehensive, so thank you.
I guess to elaborate further on that point, are you suggesting the working hours of the lounge being, after school hours, like on weekdays? Is that?
Not during times when kids will be going or coming back from school. So we might have, like, for instance, we have the elderly people that are living behind us, and they might want to play bingo or crochet or do puzzles or something during the day. So we make the space available, they're not consuming in their quarters there. So we make it available to them.
So what would the operating hours of the lounge, would be like, what time do you open?
We open at 10.
Okay. So would the lounge be open
from 10
to
yeah,
2
so
and
10 to 2. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. I guess school lets out at 2:30. I guess. Yeah, so we get closed from 2 to 2:30 or so, something along those lines.
I do appreciate the presentation as well. I think we Googled the same articles. But just so I understand correctly, you're a diversity owned business, so you'll be eligible, you know.
Yeah, that counts as-
That's a diversity.
Yeah, that's diverse enough.
So you're eligible April 2nd,
April 2nd.
and this came out of December 12th
Yeah,
meeting that they finally clarified.
yeah. So we have been waiting since last January when they first, announced or passed the regulations that govern this, which are very brief. And then nothing and, nothing, and finally, out of the blue, yeah, we're gonna do it next week.
And can you remind me, when did you open the business?
February 22nd of this year. That was a soft opening, and then March 1st was our grand opening. So we've been open 10 months.
And there's less than 12, or about 12 municipalities so far have approved consumption lounges out of 567.
So I think that's national law, we researched that. So I would say that they looked at the ordinances, and if the ordinance, how Merchant Bill's ordinance, specifically allows for it, and they counted that. And they were able to come up with less than 12. I don't know why they didn't just say 8 or whatever it was. Very few. Now, that's not to say that, there were, in my research, there were some that didn't address the question at all. So those, if I was in that town and I had the space, which is another limitation, a lot of dispensaries are rather small, and they just wouldn't have the space, to do something like this. So that's gonna be another limiting factor. If they were inclined to do it and the ordinance doesn't allow for it, then I would, approach council and ask them. If they have the space and they want to do it and the ordinance specifically doesn't allow it, I would still approach the town and ask for, change the ordinance or variance or whatever. And just because it says you can't do something, it's not, carved in stone, it's changeable. Obviously it's more of a hurdle to get something changed than to, like Merchant Bill's, where it's already approved. So I think that's where the number of less than 12 comes from.
Well, I just one more question then. It certainly seems that the cannabis industry is heavily regulated. Maybe you'll say overly.
No, I wouldn't say overly. We accept it as it is.
But in that vein, is there more that you have to do in ensuring the safety of the patron leaving your establishment? Now, I'll draw my comparisons to Apple. Obviously, people are not signing contract when they get here.
Right.
Or the Brew Monkey, but
right.
Are more stipulations or requirements on you to really make sure that that person leaving your facility is not impaired by the substance?
The CRC's regulations don't address that topic at all. So it's really, what we're doing.
So it's up to you.
What we're doing today. Yeah. So I think typically the CRC regulations, they regulate a lot of things, but each individual regulation is usually pretty brief and it's more proscriptive, like you have to do this, figure out how to do it. They don't say you have to do this and this is how you have to do it. It's just, here it is, you have to submit a floor plan, it doesn't say what the floor plan has to include, and that's like, oh, here's my floor plan, looks good, and then they say, oh. And so a lot of it is kind of guesswork, or, you have consultants that submitted for somebody else, and this is what I found in my, couple of instances where I was able to interact with the state. So it's a lot of throw it at the wall and see what sticks.
Appreciate the insight. Mr. Wood?
Just a couple questions. So in your poll, when you poll residents of where they live, and they said they live in the area, what was the confines of in the area?
So usually we consider the area of Pennsauken, Merchant Bill, Pennsauken, Maple Shade.
Like neighboring?
Yeah, contiguous down Cherry Hill.
Okay. Okay, I was just trying to get a sense of where these people are coming from. I mean, mostly if that's all kind of true, you're gonna be driving or traveling in some form of transportation, that's why on a bicycle.
Yeah, so our apartment is in Plaza Grand by Costco and that. I can tell you can walk there from here.
Yeah.
I did it on Friday. Wasn't bad at all.
I know we touched on, the weekday hours and you would potentially take a break during, kids leaving school.
Yeah.
On the weekends, would you propose having it open during your normal hours of operation the whole time, or?
Ideally, yeah, it's gonna come down to, we're gonna have to staff the room, so we wouldn't wanna staff it when nobody wants to be there. You know, so we kind of get a feel for, you know, when it's popular. I suspect, you know, 10 o'clock in the morning until noon or so is not super popular. You know, probably after lunch type of thing, you know, our sales, you know, kind of peak around 1 o'clock, and then around, you know, kind of when people are coming home from work, so I suspect that those are the more popular times. So again, with the sort of the wild card of local residents and you know, the folks that live behind us, we've had a lot of interest from, you know, those folks that they, coming to the place that they can hang out and do their old stuff and everything.
It's okay, Sean. Thank you.
The max capacity for the consultant.
So architecturally, I believe it was 70 people, which seems to me to be a lot. So we're putting furniture into the room now. We're gonna kind of say, okay, I want you to, you know, kind of count the seats, and I'm gonna suspect it's probably gonna be around 40 or so when we, you know, that we can comfortably hold. So we have some tables and chairs around them. We have sort of game stations and chairs that are oriented towards the TVs. We have a big 6-person poker table type of thing, so I'd say probably around 40 people.
The only major question I had is in regards to the filtration of smoke-free air act. I know it's a little bit separate, but a couple of people have kind of brought up. I guess to prevent the downtown from being a little too over stunky.
Right.
If you could speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, so we already have installed in the roof, activated carbon filtering system. So we'll take the air in, filter through the carbon. As you know, as you probably know, the stinkiness that you breathe is organic compounds, right? So it's combustion products of burning. It's organic compounds, so we specifically, granular activated carbon or powdered activated carbon is specifically very good at capturing those organic compounds. And
yes, we do.
Yeah. So it's the same thing, you know, whether the compound is dissolved in water, the compound is dissolved in air, the granular activated carbon on the surface is the surface reaction is able to sequester those compounds. So every once in a while we change the filter, good to go. You just put the filter in your oven and bake off the organic compounds, and it's again good to go. So it's totally renewable. Probably wouldn't do that because all the stink is immediately released instead of slowly released. So, but I feel like I do have my fish tank. I'll take the activated carbon from the fish tank and bake it in it's activated carbon again. So we have that. Actually, happen to have some props here. So we actually have a total volatile activated or volatile organic compound meter that will be able to monitor the air quality of the room with. And I also have and the vault, yes, our vault was like, it was in the green zone, and we also have an air anemometer, so we monitor the airflow, make sure that the air is kind of going into the room and not getting pushed out of the room. And I checked that, and that's actually the case. So in addition to the ceiling mounted one, that's our kind of our bulwark, plan on getting some individual units that will position throughout the room. So that kind of spot treatment of that's where people are sitting. There's also odor absorbing gels. I can buy the truckload or bucket or whatever is necessary. And use those also, and spray the ozone sprays and stuff like that we can use for odor control. So we're very sensitive to that. I'm not particularly a smoker at all myself, and I'm not really turned on by the smell of burning cannabis. So I wouldn't really know it myself, so I wouldn't want to impose that on anybody else.
Any follow-up questions, Council? Thomas, just a couple of quick questions. You mentioned at the beginning of your presentation, you specifically used the word patients.
Yes.
What percentage, roughly, are people that are utilizing it for municipal purposes as opposed to recreational?
Yeah, I mean, so
What's your sense? I'm obviously.
my sense is probably that there's a lot of people that use it for things like, can't sleep, can't fall asleep, can't stay asleep, right? So that's pretty common, for whatever reason, if people are in that situation. Cannabis will, definitely help with that problem, if anything else, it will definitely help with that. Anxiety is another one. So I think there's people that are self-medicating. The medical program in New Jersey is on fire and like spiraling out of the sky right now. There's, this past meeting, they reported that there were 60,000 patients. I think about 4 months ago, there was double that. So, if we're halving every quarter, then we're going down to, 5 people at some point. So just because there's no real incentive to be a patient and lots of disincentives to be a patient. So for instance, if you're inclined to carry a gun or be licensed for a gun, being a cannabis patient is not a positive on that. All you get is relief from the state sales tax, which most dispensaries, including us, will waive the, will pay their sales tax anyway if they have a medical card. At this point, there are no new medical grows. So if you're a medical patient, you come to a medical / recreational dispensary, you have to buy the cannabis that was grown at a medical grow. At this point, there are no additional medical grows, but there's lots and lots of new adult use grows. So the selection that's available to a medical patient under the medical program is decreasing daily. So all you get is relief from the tax, but you get that anyway, if you ask for it.
You had also mentioned endorsements from the municipality or an annual function.
Yes.
You would have to come back to the body here and seek additional endorsement on an annual basis, much like when I wrote the letter
Yes.
endorsing just the recreational license continuum for
Yes.
retail, correct?
Yes. So kind of surprisingly at the last meeting, they said that there's going to be some kind of portal for the municipalities to go to submit their endorsement. I'm not sure what that's going to look like. Typically, the CRC portals are easy. It's like you address and phone number and upload your document or something like that. That's what I anticipated it being. But they do want it to come directly from the municipality instead of me photoshopping up in that town, which would be a lot easier than this.
So Denise is telling me that the liquor license in the state of New Jersey would be ABCs, right? Okay. You had mentioned that the regulations are more prescriptive. They don't necessarily tell you how to do it.
Right.
You have identified in your package here and in your statements earlier a number of safety features that you're going to be putting in place. So those is a result of discussions you've had and what you've heard, feedback from people about their concerns in the community. But those are not things that are required by the Cannabis Regulatory Commission. These are things that after discussions you decided that you would be happy to implement.
Correct. So if we were the botanist on 130 in Collingswood, where it's like they probably Collingswood probably couldn't tell us what happens there. It's not. I mean, I understand that we're in the center of town. We're prominent. We're kind of for a lot of people, the introduction to Merchantville, and we want to reflect well on Merchantville a little bit and not harm the town. We want to bring people into town. I know it's the goal of the professional association to bring more people into town and encourage people to walk around town and stuff like that. And we definitely want to do that. We want to let people know what's available in town. We're going to put inserts into the bags, let people know the other businesses that are in town, 'cause there are some unique businesses, there's only so many witchcraft shops in Jersey. So if you're interested, yeah, it's right down the street from us.
And the final question I have, and then I'll allow council to have any questions coming from my questions, Tom's further discussion here. You had mentioned April 2nd is the application. I guess that's when it opens.
Yes. So the application is on the CRC website, it's been on the CRC website for a few months, it's not particularly onerous as these tend to be, you have to submit SOPs and the SOPs have to be compliant to kind of the whims of your own investigator.
Right.
So there might be some back and forth on that, we basically have everything ready to submit. When it's open, because I thought, I went there one day and it was there, like, oh, look, you could apply, so I started filling it out, and you get to the last part, it says, oh, you can't do it right now. Just hold on, I'm working on it.
You know, you set up the CRC yet?
So, the question I have is, from a timeline perspective, because I don't imagine the council is going to be prepared to vote this evening and make a decision tonight. Is there sufficient time if we were to visit this in January or February and say, hey, let's now talk about this, if we get the endorsement, then we'd be able to get the application in by the 2nd of April? Or what's your timeline and what are your concerns there?
So I guess our concerns are that we want to build out, spend some more money and build out the space to make it more of a consumption lounge. We're kind of doing that by making it right now just a lounge. So it's going to have a lot of the elements, as I find them on Facebook Marketplace for people to hang out there and play games and kind of commune with each other and that type of thing. So when it becomes a consumption lounge versus just a lounge, it's kind of the same thing. So I would say we're not spending a ton of money. Like I'm not going to start buying $800 air purification units and putting them around the place until it looks more imminent. January, I think is fine.
Yeah, our first regular meeting of the Borough Council will be January 13th. As Denise said earlier, reorg is the 6th. But unless council is interested, as I think not everybody probably here knows, I don't vote on council matters unless I'm tie-breaking vote. And so I really did not somebody who would be voting on this. If council is interested in making a motion and moving this tonight, I'm happy to do that. I'm also happy to extend it to January 13th and have further discussion at that time. Just my personal opinion, I supported the application personally, as the mayor, but I'm not unlikely to vote in this instance.
I think personally, I would like additional time to deliberate with the rest of council.
I think fine with, let's put attention to the calendar, kind of ready for that.
Okay. The timeline would work for you guys? Okay. So that's what we'll do is do a little bit more time based on the testimony this evening, packets presented, and there's a councilman who's here who might want to have some input into this.
Can I ask you, are there any concerns that anybody has that come to mind that I haven't addressed adequately, or that you'd like me to address further?
I'm happy to open to the council if you have other concerns, questions, things that you think might give you a better idea about the application for you.
I don't have any additional concerns that you haven't addressed or that we haven't discussed previously. I think that my reservations still hinge on the fact that our police don't have a tool to determine whether somebody is truly intoxicated, and given, as you stated, your location center downtown, that's where I think it makes the issue a little more, it needs to be a little more mindful when making these considerations.
Yes.
No, I think if you have any questions, if you don't mind, we'll forward to the municipal clerk, if she can forward to you.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. All right, next item on the agenda, we have resolutions to be read by consent agenda. Council, do you have any reason to remove any of those resolutions? Acceptable? Hearing none, I'll bring it to the record, and then we'll move to the roll call vote. Resolution 24-111, approved appropriation of installations. Resolution 24-112, approved open contract balances. Resolution 24-113, refund overpayment for change in tenancy application. Resolution 24-114, refund of tax payment. Entertain a motion to approve it.
Second.
Ms. Morales first, Mr. Fitzgerald second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Mr. McLean.
Yes.
Ms. Morales.
Yes.
Mr. Scarrazza.
Yes.
Mr. Woods.
Yes.
Mr. McLuhan, financial.
Yes, Your Honor, I make a motion R 24-115, for bills and checks totaling $678,274.41.
The motion is Mr. McLuhan on resolution 24-113, right?
Second.
The 115. 15. Thank you, I appreciate it. Second was Mr. Woods, I believe.
Correct.
Okay, any discussion on that? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Mr. McLean.
Yes.
Ms. Morales. Yes. Mr. Scarrazza.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, announcements. Anything? Other than have a wonderful holiday season, everybody. Thank you for all your work this year. Members of council, volunteers, public for coming to the meeting. It's nice to see people. We don't always have this many people at our meetings, I can promise you that. Thank you very much. Meeting for private session, unless council does. Any motion to adjourn?
Second.
Woods first, Mr. Fitzgerald with the second, 8:51, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Years of practice.